This presentation introduces digital health technologies and their role in remote data collection for clinical investigations. Explains how DHTs use sensors, software, and connectivity to gather real-time health data. The content highlights their importance in improving clinical trials through continuous monitoring and decentralized approaches. It also includes examples such as wearable devices and mobile health applications. Finally, outlines key regulatory considerations. What is a DHT? A DHT is a system that uses computing platforms, connectivity, software, and/or sensors for healthcare and related uses. DHTs for remote data acquisition in clinical investigations can include hardware and/or software to perform one or more functions. They may rely on or work with other technologies that support their operation, such as general-purpose computing platforms, for example smartphones, and communication networks. Depending on the intended use of a DHT, the DHT may meet the definition of a device under the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. DHTs used for remote data acquisition are playing a growing role in healthcare and offer important opportunities in clinical research. For example, DHTs may be used to measure biomarkers and to administer clinical outcome assessment, such as patient-reported outcomes and/or performance outcomes. Compared to intermittent trial visits, the use of DHTs to remotely collect data from trial participants may allow for more frequent or continuous data collection. This may provide a broader picture of how participants feel or function in their daily lives. DHTs provide opportunities to record data from trial participants, for example biomarkers, performance of activities of daily living, sleep, vital signs, wherever the participants may be, for example home, school, work, outdoors. A data collection may involve passive monitoring by the DHT or the acquisition of data while participants are actively interacting with the DHT. Data captured by DHTs can often be transmitted directly to investigators, sponsors, and/or other authorized parties, with the capability to maintain blinding or masking of the data when appropriate. The ability to capture and transmit data remotely increases opportunities for individuals to participate in clinical investigations where some or all of the trial-related activities occur at locations other than traditional clinical trial sites, decentralized clinical trials. Increasing access to and use of DHTs in clinical trials can potentially enable the inclusion of diverse and underrepresented populations by facilitating decentralized clinical trials. This could help to ensure medical products are safe and effective for the population for which they will be used. Reducing the burden on trial participants can also improve trial recruitment, participant engagement, and retention throughout the study. Use of DHTs in clinical investigations may facilitate inclusion of certain participants with physical or cognitive disabilities or pediatric participants. For example, the use of sensors may be of value to obtain data about signs, for example, scratching, sleep, from cognitively impaired or pediatric participants who are unable to report symptoms, for example, itch, insomnia. Sponsors should consider what impact the use of a DHT in a clinical investigation could have on the cohort participating, for example, expanding participation of geographically dispersed individuals, limiting participation of those unwilling to use DHTs. Examples of potential digital health technology use in clinical investigations. Consumer Activity Tracker Bracelet. It is off-the-shelf consumer activity tracker bracelet with sensors and software to measure step count. Function is to remotely measure a participant's steps during a clinical investigation as part of the endpoint of interest in the evaluation of a novel orthotic device to treat knee osteoarthritis. Memory Task Mobile Application. It is a mobile application used by participants on their smartphones to complete a clinical outcome assessment memory task during the clinical investigation. Function is to measure participants' active performance on a memory task during a clinical investigation as part of the endpoint of interest in the evaluation of a drug to treat symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. Send participants a reminder to complete the memory task. FDA-authorized continuous glucose monitor device. FDA-authorized continuous glucose monitor, including a sensor and a mobile application, used within its authorized indications for use to continuously track hypoglycemic episodes in participants remotely. Function is to remotely measure glucose levels continuously during a clinical investigation. Multiple DHTs. In this example, the DHTs are used concurrently as part of a clinical investigation of a medical product to treat a pulmonary disease. FDA-authorized spirometer with smart connectivity. Consumer activity tracker bracelet. Mobile application where participants rate their functioning each day. Regulatory considerations. Some DHTs used in clinical investigations may be medical devices, so certain medical device regulatory requirements may apply. As long as the investigation complies with the Investigational Device Exemption (IDE) regulations, FDA generally does not intend to request that sponsors submit a separate IDE application, depending on a number of factors such as the risk of the DHT. The Digital Health Center of Excellence in the Center for Devices and Radiological Health serves as a resource on DHTs, including their regulatory status and medical device regulatory requirements.